I'm Karina with Let Us Live. Today we are going to learn about planting ginger. You can grab a piece from the grocery store and begin to grow your own ginger. You're going to grow ginger the same way you do turmeric. So you can use this video to plant turmeric as well. Ginger comes from China, and originally was from China, and it has anti-inflammatory properties and antioxidants. So it's something that we all should be consuming all the time. It's actually, we would say, a root, but it's a rhizome. This is what you're going to plant. We're really eating the rhizome, or the root, as a lot of people like to say. And so today what we want to do is show you how you get a piece from the grocery store and you can start growing your own ginger. We're going to look for what we would call nodes or little eyes. If you get a piece from the grocery store, what you want to do, if you decide to break it, you're going to let it sit overnight or a couple of days till it begins to form a callus, or you'll get mold and it may not grow. Also, if you're buying it from the grocery store, you want to let it soak for a couple of days, because a lot of times they put growth retardants and it's going to keep it from growing. If you allow it to soak, some of that retardant that they put on there to keep it from growing will come off, and then you can take your ginger rhizome and plant it. The other important thing about planting ginger is we don't want to plant it in a round pot. Ginger grows horizontally, so you don't need as much depth as you do length. So I planted it in here, and I want to show you how we're going to plant it in this box. This is not ideal because, like I said, we're looking for length. This garden box, and if you don't have a large raised bed at home, what you can do is get a long planter and put it in there. You don't need a lot of depth, we just need length. The more length that you have, the more ginger rhizome that you will find. The same with turmeric. Turmeric grows more depth than it does length, so you can plant turmeric in a pot that has more depth. When you go to the store, like I said, you're looking for eyes or nodes. If you allow this to soak a couple of days, you may start seeing the little nodes or eyes, and that's what we're looking for. And as I mentioned, remember, if you decide to break it or you get a piece that is broken, we'll want the ginger to start forming a callus, or otherwise you'll find yourself having mold. So I want to transplant this from out of this round pot into this bed that has more length, and hopefully I'll have ginger all throughout this bed. So we're going to take this out of this pot. We're going to transplant it from out of here into this bed. And the reason I'm doing this, as I mentioned, is I need something with depth. That's not the most ideal planting situation, and I'm going to gently try to show you. Hopefully I won't disturb it too much, but if you see here, here's the ginger, and it shoots up. What happens is this little node is where the leaf is going to shoot up. So it's going to grow upward, the leaf will grow upward, and the plant's going to grow horizontally. See there, the leaf is coming from here, and there's the root system, but you see there's no depth to this. This is all going to be horizontal. So you want to plant the ginger and turmeric early spring before the ground heats up too much. So early spring in Houston is when we plant our ginger, and then you're going to plant it about 1 inch to 1.5 inches deep. Not too, we don't want it too terribly deep. And again, remember, it's horizontal that we're looking for. So we're just gonna set this gently back in here, and I'm actually gonna go a little bit deeper because I want to cover this up, and this is not as deep as I would like it to be. Set that in there, and then we're gonna cover it up. Now, the key to growing ginger is you never want the soil to be terribly dry, and you don't want it to be soggy. So you want it to be more of a balance like this. nice and airy and light. We don't want the root to stay soggy. It'll begin to mold and not grow. And then we want to keep it moist through the growing process. We don't want it to dry out. So this is the ideal situation. And anytime you're growing, I always suggest covering your soil up with some type of leaf or mulch. It does two things. It's going to keep, you notice I don't have any weeds here or grass growing in. So it's going to keep your weeds out. It's going to keep your soil nice and moist, and it'll attract the beneficial bugs that you need. So we want to cover our soil up with leaves. Yes, it looks nice and pretty when it's nice and clean, but leaves will keep the moisture in your soil. It's almost like sunscreen. We want to protect our soil, so we'll use sunscreen, which is the leaves, to protect our soil and keep the moisture in the soil and not get burnt out from the hot sun. So remember, length is your key. Planting in early spring before the ground gets too terribly hot. We want to plant an 1 inch to 1.5 inch depth. And the most important thing is getting a pot or an environment that has length and not so much depth when you're planting ginger. I hope that tip helps. And remember, lettuce lets us live. Bye.